Hello and welcome to this guide where we will show you how to build a massive amount of small carrier rockets, which is a follow-up from the guide that we did about the solar sails. So we're slowly building up the Dyson Sphere here. This is our second Dyson Sphere. You can see that it's at around 280 gigawatts. We're just in the last few bits of the frame material that we have to finish, and then it's just a matter of jamming in solar sails for quite a bit of time to build out this Dyson Sphere. You can already see that it's producing 108 gigawatts. So in this guide we'll talk you through the carrier rockets, and if I show you rates right now, we have a few bottlenecks that we will alleviate over time. But currently we're launching about 1200 per minute in terms of structure points. So that's about 1200 per minute of the these small carrier rockets. And if we look at our production line for the small carrier rockets, you can see that we have a pretty solid 1200 per minute here. We're currently limited on processors. And the reason we're not getting processors is because of high purity silicon, but yeah, we'll take a look at that over time. Okay, so let's look at some of those production lines. Now in the description, what you'll find is, if I go up to here, the Dyson Sphere, these are all the production lines that you need. And we'll take a look at some of them. I don't know if we're going to look at all of them, like some of them are pretty basic. But yeah, these are all the production lines that we are making use of to produce this rate of small carrier rockets. So in the case of the small carrier rockets, we are not making use of stacking. Oh, by the way, we're going to be using a lot of Proliferate. So what I'm actually forced to do here is to have a second intercell logistics station because I want to proliferate everything. I need to feed one of the materials from the back here, which is the deterium fuel rod. So you can see how that works. And then the other materials are being fed from the front here. So that's where we're getting the Dyson Sphere component and the quantum chips. And yeah, we're currently limited on the Dyson Sphere component, which is because of the processors. But anyway, the other unique part of this is that we have all of these chests here. The reason for that is that we're not, we're on many occasions, we're going to be waiting for the Dyson Sphere to actually be absorbing all of the solar cells, right? So in that case, we're actually able to stock up on the small carrier rockets such that when we build the next Dyson Sphere, we can just use our what we've stored and just be able to deliver them at the full rate of like 160 per second out of here, right? Regardless of what our production rates are. So that's why we have all of these storage boxes here. And this holds more than enough to build probably 2 Dyson Spheres. But yeah, of course it's empty right now because we haven't been doing anything with it. Okay, so let's take a quick look. Oh, the other thing to say, what we picked to do here with these guys is the extra production, because like this has such expensive materials in it that it's nice to get some free materials out of the production line. And then basically the way that we determined the number that we put down here is just based on the I believe it was based on the output limit. So at the moment, this production line can produce, assuming that if it had all of the input materials, it could produce 120 per second small carrier rockets. But of course, it's lacking the Dyson Sphere component, which is unfortunate. Okay, let's take a quick look at the quantum processors. You can see that a lot of them are actually producing. This one is probably also going to be limited on processors right now. And we're eventually going to run out of these quantum chips if we don't solve that processor problem. But yeah, again, in this case, we are doing the extra products. We're not doing any piling on the output. It's just aiming to produce enough here on the output. And I believe this is limited both on the input, well, on the output for the most part, because of course the inputs are stacked 4 high. So yeah, that's the the quantum chips. And then the other one here is the plane filter. Again, over on this one, we're actually going with the production speed up because these actually produce at such a slow rate that, you know, it's worth it. And even so, we don't even get the piling done. Like it's just a plain 30 per second here from, you know, spanning a huge part of the planet with production lines. So yeah, that's what we've done here. And then one of the other interesting ones, the titanium glass is not that interesting. Just sort of go to the description and use the blueprint, right? The only other one that's kind of interesting is the Cashmere Crystal. I'm gonna try and find it because it's, well, actually it's a lot easier to do it like this. It's actually a fairly small production line because it's basically hydrogen limited. Alright, let me try and find this. I'll probably cut this bit out. Where are the Cashmere crystals? These are not the Cashmere crystals. Are they actually in a smelting? No. Ah, here they are. Okay, so we found the Cashmere crystals right here. We're of course making use of optical grating crystals. The challenge here, and again, we don't have any piling of the output because it's pretty challenging here to get this to a high rate, and it's because of the hydrogen here that we have on the back, where it would actually be worthwhile to maybe put in like a second transportation station here and essentially boost the hydrogen lines. So I'm going to quickly do that and then show you what that looks like. One moment. Okay, so we've done that now. Now that's not in the blueprint, this bit, because it's not always needed, but this is a really good technique. If the problem is that your transportation network is just too slow to be able to keep up with the hydrogen production, you can just go use this method here to essentially double the throughput, right? And of course, we can just copy paste this down over and over and over, and then, you know, eventually we'll be able to keep up with the production rates here. But yeah, the other thing that I just noticed is that we actually have a bit of a power problem. So I'll actually show you how we take care of the power here. Now it's not always happening. This is all the proliferate that we are producing. So yeah, it's not always a problem, but this is the number of these, I guess, artificial stars that we have, and this is how we usually connect them. We draw like a line around the planet, and then we just connect all of them around here. You can see our drones are frantically trying to keep up with what we're trying to do here. Okay, and I can spot a need for some foundations. That's the other thing that we have a lot of here, is a very nice foundation production line. But I don't actually know where it is. This is one of the problems that you end up running into when you have a massive planet. Okay, here we go. This produces a massive amount of foundations, basically. Yeah, anyway, I have a video on my channel if you want to see more about it. Okay, let's put it here. Okay, then we will have to do something like this. Then we will again be like completely fine on power. You can see that it's a problem right now. I have a lack of item, that's fine. I can just pick up more of them. So let's grab another 160. I don't know why this is not getting fuel right now. Oh, because of this. Okay. Okay. And what you can see here is that we're actually consuming about 9 gigawatts on this planet, or thereabouts, and we also actually need to boost this to be able to keep up with the production rates or the consumption rates. But yeah, this is how the power works on this planet. So we've shown you the quantum chips. Let's just take a quick look at the Dyson Sphere component. Here we go. So the Dyson Sphere component, again, is one of those where we have to split the production line, where we need double the two logistic stations. You can see that we're sort of keeping up with this, although, you know, this is probably starting to be problematic, the solar cells, so something else that we should look at some point. And then, yeah, we're feeding from the other side. In this case, we did go for our usual stacking and the production speed up for the Proliferate. And you can see that we are actually running out of processors. And then the processor production, if I find it somewhere over here, the problem with the processor production, again, this is production speed up, pretty standard stuff, output stacking. The problem will be that we don't have enough of these microcrystalline component, and this is basically how I go about like raising the production rates, right? It's just putting down what we want in terms of the output, and then sort of going back and forth and actually sort of fixing it. So you can see that this is having problems with the high purity silicon. Then if we look at our production rates here, our galaxy, the high purity silicon, you know, is limited. So we'll go visit our smelting planet and show you how that works and put down a little bit more of that high purity silicon. But yeah, this is basically how the assembling planet works, right? The main ones that we ran into in terms of, I guess, production rate limits is really the Dyson Sphere component. That was it early on, and the processors. The rest, if you just put down one of those production lines from the description, you'll be just fine. Okay, the next step is that we'll go visit our chemistry planet. Won't take a second. Now, the chemistry planet actually is mostly producing carbon nanotubes. So that was the biggest sort of production issue that we had on here. You can see that about a third of the planet is just dedicated to producing carbon nanotubes. I think we have 3 of these, and these production lines, they go to 4 high, but they go around an entire planet. So that's how that works. Now, of course, if we went processor limited, we'd actually be using more of this. But yeah, also the Proliferate requires quite a bit of this, which is the other reason why we put it together. Okay, the other interesting one for which I have a guide on my channel too. So we have some deuterium being produced in these particle colliders, but actually the more interesting way of producing it is using fractionators, where a new technique is required because the piling doesn't allow you to sort of work it in the same way, right? Like, you can't use a feedback loop anymore. Anyway, take a look on my channel and you'll be able to find that production line. The basic concept of it is that we pile the output. We have 12 fractionators, and then we just send the hydrogen into another logistics station and supply it away. So yeah, we did need a lot of deuterium. And I didn't show you a lot of the motor production line and so on, but that's pretty standard stuff. I believe for the supermagnetic rings, we actually are going with extra output because they are really expensive in terms of materials. But then you can see that our deuterium production, if I go down here, hydrogen consumption production is around 88,000, consumption is about 90,000. I think it's fine. There should be plenty more hydrogen in our system, and you can see that we're actually producing about 40,000 deuterium and consuming it as well, which is a lot. The other thing to keep an eye on is the antimatter fuel rod. This is the way that we power everything, right? So currently we have a production of 500 and consumption only of 280. So our power is going to be fine. As soon as this dips, the consumption goes above production, we have a big problem because basically everything's going to stop working. So yeah, that's the chemical planet. You need a lot of space for the carbon nanotubes is basically the learning from this. And of course you'll find those production lines in the description. Now, let's go to our home planet. I'm kind of racing against time a little bit here because like I want to actually go to the the Dyson Sphere and show you before it finishes building. And just okay, let's give it some Orpus. Now let's take a look at the Dyson Sphere. Okay. I think we have to go to the Dyson Sphere right now. Otherwise I won't be able to show you it launching anything. So let's go here. Because it's in the last little bit of the Dyson Sphere production here. You can see that we have 12,000 cell points per minute that we're able to do. But it's going to take a while. In 10 minutes it does 100,000, in 100 minutes it does 1,000,000. So basically we have about 2,000 minutes or something like that before we finish. But yeah, I'll go to the Dyson Sphere and then I'll be back with you. Okay, now we are arriving into the system with the Dyson Sphere. Which is going quite well. So let's take a look as we fly by here. You can see the amount of production that's going on here. And most of the frame is actually there, it's just that it needs to fill in the rest of the solar cells, which will take quite a bit of time. Right, let's get to the planet where we're actually launching. So this is how the launching works. We basically have 3 lines of these vertical launch silos that basically span the entire planet, and they're just constantly launching. I'm going to take a quick screenshot here. 1 second. Okay. So yeah, basically how this works is that they pass through the small carrier rockets through themselves using sorters. So that's how that works. Not all of them are actually working because we can't supply all of them at a high enough rate. But yeah, the Proliferate, in case you're wondering, just speeds up the launching a lot. That's how that works. So yeah, you can see that eventually we're going to run out of the the small carrier rockets here, and that's basically when we can't keep up with the supply. So it's just not producing quite quick enough. But yeah, so that's how the launching part works. And again, there is there's a blueprint. I'll just make sure that it's there. So if we go vertical, Dyson Sphere, vertical launch silo, vertical launch silo. You just need to make sure that the that you take care of all of the foundations and so on that you might need. The other thing to keep in mind is that it doesn't really matter which planet that you put this on in the solar system, right? We could put it on any planet and all of them would work, which is quite different to the rail ejectors that really want to be close to the Dyson Sphere being built. So yeah, that's how the launching works. And maybe we'll take a quick, we'll go watch the production a little bit. I don't know where it's actually merging them right now. Let's see. Okay, there's one sort of up and at the top. Okay. So you can see that we are essentially delivering a huge number of rockets here. Like that's rockets coming in and docking and building more of the Dyson frame. Very cool. And then of course the solar cells are also coming to merge in. Maybe if we look at one of these over here, we can see this getting built as well. There's quite a bit more to do, but I think that it'll take like, I don't know, a few hours of it just sort of working. And then the other thing that we can take a quick look at is actually at this point over here. Like this is where all of the solar cells are getting delivered. And then of course also like getting stuck somewhere else. You can see that right there we are getting shot at by the planet here. I don't actually know where the little guy is. Just zoomed out, way zoomed out. Okay, well that's the crazy rate of Dyson Sphere construction, and we're probably basically done with the shell. Yeah, you can see that the small carrier rockets are not arriving, not needing anymore, so you just witnessed us finishing building it. It took us maybe 3 to 6 hours to put up 280,000 of these structure points, and now we're absorbing about 50,000 solar cells here. And it's going to take a bit of time for all of these solar cells to get built, but this is going to be basically the main source, the main production line for our critical photons. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to show, was if we go to our home planet, our home system, we have a smelting system. So let's go to that. And I'll see you once I'm there. 1 minute. Okay, as we arrive on our smelting planet, we're only going to take a look at, let's say, the high purity silicon production line, which is the one that we're going to need to improve. So basically the way it works, you can see that the main problem here is the delivery network more so than anything else. But the way that it works, and this is a pretty standard production line, is that we have 4 inputs and then we share the outputs and then we essentially stack it to 4 and then we take it back in, right? And all of the different production lines work in a very similar way. They're somewhat optimized for horizontal space because they go at production speed up and, they're using the Mark II smelters. And they're actually a lot faster than these sorts of production lines. So I've been going around and replacing these with these much faster ones. So let's make an example. I have some pretty terrible production lines that I built early on. I mean, they were fine at the time, but of course, now they're irrelevant. They're not really producing a lot. Okay, we had a little bit of space over here, didn't we? Somewhere? Yeah, okay. We're gonna be targeting this. Okay, so these smelting production lines you can put, well, actually, hang on, I'll show you the one from the Dyson Sphere. Dyson Sphere, high purity silicon. You can do 3 of them next to each other in these sort of middle lanes. This is the first Dyson Sphere that we put together. I'm going to get rid of this production line. It's in the way. And it's making like an irrelevant amount of material. It's pretty pointless these days. We have a much faster version of that. Also available right here, titanium alloy. But we're not going to build that right now. This one needs 2 inputs, so you have to be a little bit careful on the back and leave a little bit more space. But yeah, Dyson Sphere, high purity silicon. Okay, let's stick this in. The main difficulty here is how close you get it. Okay, good. And then of course we need more sorters, and then we have our little production line here, where, what, delivery network right here, where we can just grab sorters. And then, I don't know, we'll delete some of these vertical launch sites and some of this other stuff that we don't need, and grab a bunch of these. Okay, there we go. And it's as easy as that. You just look at the various production lines and look at what's currently causing you the biggest problem, and then you go and you put down this, and eventually you get to the point where you have all the materials that you could ever want for a given amount. So right now we can probably the solar the Dyson Sphere that you just saw. You know, it's basically as big as it gets, but like smaller Dyson Spheres, like for example this one, which only actually has, what, 2 million structure points, right? Like we could finish that and 84,000 structure points and 2 million sail points. We could finish that in like a couple of hours, right? So we can be going around the galaxy and building basically as many Dyson Spheres as we want. But this one here was, look at this is crazy. This was done because we wanted to capture a huge amount of power and basically make this the source for all of our power production. But yeah, that's producing a crazy amount of small carrier rockets and launching them. So if we look at the rates now, they're probably not going to be any different. We're still at around 1,000, and we're missing some materials. We're also starting to not really need them anymore. So yeah, over time, this high purity silicon here should resolve itself as we put down maybe another couple ones of these. But yeah, so that's basically how to build Dyson Spheres in like 2 hours, and the kind of scale that you need to have for that. So for the purpose of the video, thank you for watching, and until next time, bye.